Hello and welcome to the Practical Apps Screencast series. In this first lesson, we're going to be creating a development environment that we're going to be using throughout the project. To create this environment, we're going to be using Ubuntu and VirtualBox. Now, if you're not familiar with either of those, VirtualBox is a virtual machine software, and Ubuntu is a Linux distribution. This type of development environment is extremely flexible and allows you to develop your software on a Linux operating system while running that virtual machine on any type of operating system that you choose. Now, if you have your own development environment already set up and you're comfortable using that for the project, feel free to skip to the next video. So the first step is going to be installing VirtualBox. So if you open up a browser tab and you navigate to virtualbox.org/wiki/downloads, you'll get this download page. Choose the platform that you're working on, Windows, Mac, or Linux. Download. And then once that's downloaded, you can open it and follow the installation instructions. Now, all of the default settings are perfectly fine for what we're going to be doing. Once VirtualBox is installed, you can open it, and you should see something like this. Now, as you can see, I already have an existing version of the DevBox installed, but we'll go ahead and we'll install a new version. And to do this, the first step is going to be to download the DevBox VirtualBox appliance that I've uploaded to Dropbox. You should have received a link in your email that will direct you to where this can be downloaded. Once the appliance is downloaded, you can now import it. So you go File, Import Appliance, and then you want to find the appliance. So I'll go to my desktop, and you can see it's on my desktop. Move this in so everyone can see. There we go. And then you go Open, and then you want to go Next. For all of these settings, you can leave them as default and go Import. Now this is going to take some time. It's rather large, so I'll just skip over here. And there you go. You can see that the VirtualBox has been imported. You should have a virtual machine listed now called DevBox. Mine's called DevBox 1, but that's because I have one additionally. So the next step is going to be we have to configure a couple things to make it work. So right-click on your DevBox VM, go to Settings, and then you want to go to Network. And you want to make sure that this is set to bridged adapter. It should be set to bridged adapter by default because that was the setting for the appliance, but just confirm that. And then we want to go to shared folders, and you'll see a shared folder entry, probably called C users full-bit desktop source. Now this is where I created my shared folder on my Windows desktop. You're going to need to change this, obviously, unless you have the exact same file structure. But what you need to do is create a folder somewhere that you want to house your code, and you need to set this this shared folder directory to it. So what you would do is you'd go right-click on it, edit shared folder, and then you would just change this folder path to whatever folder that you want to work out of on your computer. Make sure read-only is unchecked and auto-mount is unchecked, and folder name can remain source. So then you go OK, and then go OK, and then we're going to power on our virtual machine. So I've gone ahead and skipped the loading process for mine, but once your virtual machine is up and running, you should be greeted with a prompt. So to log in, the username is DevBox, and the password is password. Real original, I know. So there you go, you're all logged in, and you can use this VirtualBox as a development environment now, and we'll just we'll test it here to show you how that works. So what we'll do is we'll open up our code editor, and within that code editor, you can see that I've opened up the shared folder that we've mounted, and I'm going to create a new file. We'll call it test, and inside this file we'll say hello world, and we'll save that. And next we're going to move back to our VirtualBox. And inside this VirtualBox, we're going to do the command ls. And you'll see the source directory, which is our shared directory. So we're going to ls source. And you'll see that there's the test file. And if we cat that out, we go source, or cat source test, you'll see hello world. And there you have it. We have a shared folder mounted where we can house our code, and we can work on that code in our text editor within either our Windows or OS X or our Linux distribution. Now, lastly, I want to talk a little bit about accessing this virtual machine. As you can see, VirtualBox provides you with a shell that you can use to interact with your virtual machine or your dev box. And this works fine. You can do whatever. You can do any commands that you would do in a regular shell. The issue that I've been running into with VirtualBox, and at least the interface for VirtualBox, it seems to do some quirky things. Sometimes the prompt disappears, and it just is a little bit unreliable. So what I've been doing, at least as a Windows user, I've been using PuTTY, and PuTTY is just an SSH tool that you can use to remote into that virtual machine. I found that a lot more reliable. For Mac users, you are able to just use your regular shell, and you can SSH into this virtual machine. And it should be fairly straightforward. And that's something that you might want to consider. So that's the end of our first lesson. You have a working virtual machine that you can use as a development environment. Moving forward, you can use this for your ongoing projects, for client work, anything like that. This is exactly how I do my development. I run a virtual machine. It's almost just like a second computer for me. I SSH in, and I don't use the shared folder because I use Vim, but I mean, that's up to you. You at least have the option this way to maintain your files on the shared folder and work within a text editor that you prefer. If you are finding that you run into any issues setting up VirtualBox or mounting the shared folder or anything like that, definitely get in touch. I'll have no problem helping people get set up and get started. Our next lesson will be creating and working within virtual environments in Python.